Autumn is a beautiful and abundant time of year, possibly my favourite of all the seasons. And there are still so many beautiful and bright crops to be harvested. And the show of colours that this season gives really warms my heart. I love slowing down into autumn and moving with nature. It feels so nourishing. That being said, there is still always plenty to do here on our 3-acre self-sufficiency farm. But we take our time now with many of the jobs because we've got all winter. And right now it's peak chilli harvesting time. And over the last week, I've been making my own homegrown smoked paprika, which I use nearly every day in the kitchen. And my next harvest will be for a fermented hot sauce and harissa paste. And we freeze lots of whole chilies too, for use all through the year. Making smoked paprika is a 3-part process to dry the chilies and to get the real wood smoked flavour. First, I part dry the de-seeded chilies in the dehydrator. Then I transfer them to the smoker for just long enough to change the colour. And then back into the dehydrator to finish drying them fully. You can see a more detailed video on this process on our channel, and I'll also pop the link to that video in the comments down below. Hey, I've got your poop to take up. Is that a bug on you? Let me see. Stay still. You want to go down? You had enough cuddles? Okay. Here I go. Stay in there. So one of our weekly jobs is to take all of the chicken manure, which we clean out of their house daily, up into and put it into our main compost bays. And then I've also got this one here, which is full of food scraps, and this one will go up into the tumbling composter, which I also need to empty first. I'm just going to stop here and show you this beautiful apple tree. This is one of our favourites. This is a really late season apple, and it was supposed to be a cider apple tree. We planted this one back when we were making cider, but we've actually pretty much stopped drinking these days, so we haven't been making cider anymore. But I absolutely love these as an eating apple because I really love crispy, slightly sharp apples. And yeah, this tree is great because it is a really late one, and the colour of the apples are just amazing. So yeah, we don't normally show that tree so much where it's just there on its own. So this is our 4-bay composting system. So we've got a bay here that we finished filling probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. We've got another bay here resting. And then this one here is pretty much finished compost, although it's quite rough, so we probably will sieve this one. And then we've got a bay here that we're currently filling. So the chicken poop is going to go in here. It's pretty gross after it's been sitting here for a week, but it will be really good stuff for boosting the power of our compost. And then in a sec I'm going to have some stuff from the tumbling composter which I'll cover on top of that chicken poo, which helps to kind of keep the smell of it down from the compost whilst it rots and breaks down. So if you saw one of our last videos, you'll know that we've started covering our beds with black plastic to tuck them up for the winter and to keep the weeds down. So that was our potato bed there. So the tumbling composter is actually really heavy at the moment because it's really full, and that is why I need to empty it. So we have one side that we're filling and one side that we're resting. You can see there's lots of activity in there. So this is the side we've been filling, and this just needs to rest now. We actually really need to get some more carbon in there because it's a bit wet. And then this side is the side that's been resting. And again, we do struggle with the tumbling composter to get enough carbon content in. So we do find that it stays quite wet, which isn't ideal. But what I tend to do is just leave it until it's broken down enough so rats and mice aren't interested in the food anymore. And then we add it to the compost bays where I just was to finish it off. So that's what I'm going to do with this side now. You can actually get a proper little trolley that fits under these tumblers, which I realise now would have been a really helpful addition. But yeah, we just try and position green sacks and empty it out as neatly as possible. Hence why I've got the plastic gloves on, because it can get a little bit gross having to scrape out the last bits.
Smells lovely.
Yeah, it's a little bit too wet really.
Good shot.
And this is why I have the gloves on. Okay. And then I can start fresh in this side now. And obviously compost is super important when you're growing loads of veg and trying to be self-sufficient like we are. It is probably the most important thing about gardening, is creating as much compost as you possibly can. And we are really lucky, we do have access to municipal waste, green waste compost quite readily, but homemade compost is always so much more nutritious. So yeah, we try and use a combination of both, and over time we're trying to really build up the volume of our own compost that we make, because ideally we would love to be 100% self-sufficient in our compost as well. But obviously with the growing space we have, that is quite a lot of compost.
How does it feel?
It is a bit too wet, a bit wetter than I would like it. It's probably a result of all the rain we've had over the last couple of weeks as well. It's probably got into the composter a little bit, But yeah, hopefully it will just mix in. There's quite a few layers of sticks and stuff in this bed,
Put the
so
eggshells in as well.
when we turn it, it will help. And yeah, there's lots of eggshell in the compost that helps to add calcium back in, which is all good for the soil and for the plants. And yeah, now we'll get another layer of carbon on top of this and leave it be. Following a dry, hot summer, the weeds have gone mad since we've had a good dose of rain. So there is always plenty of hoeing to be done at this time of year to stay on top of the weed growth, particularly as we clear down some of the beds that will stay empty over winter. So there is plenty of hoeing for Dan to get through. Our favourite type of hoe to use is this oscillating hoe, or you might have heard of them called a swivel hoe before. We find them really versatile and the easiest to use. Come on then, girls. Come on out for a bit of free range while we have our lunch. Is that better? Is that what you wanted? Lots of fresh grass? Here I'm simmering the last of our cherry plums and aronia berries with just a little sugar, coconut sugar and 500 millilitres of water to make us a superfood juice. We'll use this one up fresh in just a few days, as I've only added enough sugar to taste rather than to preserve. The woodland is even more magical in autumn, dotted with pops of colourful fairy tale mushrooms and all of my favourite seasonal colours, together with one of my favourite autumn harvests. Sweet chestnuts. One of the harvests that we always really look forward to in autumn is from this wild area of our land here, and it is sweet chestnuts. And it's only the 2nd of October today, and it's the first time we've come round and checked the sweet chestnuts since we've heard them dropping. You might be able to hear them falling through the trees every now and then. And they're actually really early this year. The main harvest doesn't normally start till towards the middle to end of October for us here in the south, and I'm actually really surprised at how many really good sized chestnuts are already on the ground. But this is a really beautiful, wild and nutritious harvest that we are blessed with here from all of these lovely old sweet chestnut trees which line one of our boundaries. And this small ring of sweet chestnut trees here are ones that Dan noticed not long after he first bought this land. And a lot of the new trees were getting ringed by deer, and he actually came in and put tree protectors around this group of trees. And as you can see, they are beginning to reach a more mature size. And we've just noticed that one of them has got a few chestnuts on for the first time this year. So that has taken about 10 years since they were really small trees. You can see this one here is a really good size as well, but I can't actually see any chestnuts on this one yet. but I would say it's not going to be long for that tree. So it's really cool that we've got young or younger sweet chestnut trees coming up actually on our land here for the next generation of sweet chestnut harvesting to come. Our beans for shelling were ready extra early this year, and by early October we were able to clear them all, when in other years we'd only be starting to harvest at this time. We've decided to move the frames back to our main growing area again for next season, due to concerns that if they came loose they could fall right into our polytunnels and damage the covers. We moved them last year as we'd had bean weevils, but I've since learnt this isn't a problem at all. I just simply freeze the perfectly dried beans in sealed jars for 48 hours after shelling. If you do try this, make sure your beans are fully dried first and leave them to defrost afterwards for at least 24 hours with the lid still firmly in place for the whole process. We're still harvesting the last of our apples and pears from our food forest, and this variety that me and Dan are harvesting now is Braeburn, and this is a really good apple for storage. So these ones were put into the crate and into a cool place in our shed, and hopefully these ones might still be good up until Christmas. Our food forest is looking more and more like winter by the day, and over the winter months we will be working away in here to tidy it up. We'll be clearing around all the bases of the trees and shrubs and mulching and cutting back bramble, and this year we will also cut our autumn raspberries right back down to the ground, which we only do every other year normally. And then one other exciting thing which Dan did spot in here the other day, which I am so pleased about, is just here on this little Szechuan pepper tree, we have got our first peppers that have grown this year. And that is really exciting and a really good sign for hopefully what will be more to come on this little tree. We hope you've enjoyed being with us today and seeing a little slice of autumn on our self-sufficiency farm here in the UK. Drop us a comment down below and let us know your favourite things about autumn that you are enjoying right now too, as we love hearing from you guys. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it wherever you can, as this really helps to get our videos seen by more lovely people like you. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you here again soon. Peace and plants.